Tonight at Sky Stadium, a test that's split in two. New Zealand led 10-7 at the break, and then South Africa produced one of the most ruthless second halves you'll ever see in this rivalry. 6 tries, 36 unanswered points, and a 43-10 statement win. Let's unpack exactly how it happened, why it happened, and what it means next. Let's quickly look at some of the receipts. All Blacks scored 10 points off Leroy Carter with the early strike, Damian McKenzie with the boot. Then Springboks, 43 points. Cheslin Kolbe, the try scorer, plus Damian Willemse, Kwagga Smith, R.G. Snyman, and Andre Esterhuizen. Manie Libbok with 5 conversions and a penalty. At halftime, New Zealand were 10-7 ahead, and then the lights went out. What were the big 3 themes for me, at least in this game? Number 1 was disruption at 9 and disruption everywhere. What do I mean by that? Noah Hotham was off after 9 minutes, and that meant an immediate reshuffle in cadence. That matters in your exits and in your multi-phase menus. It changes who calls the tempo and how quickly you can get to your launch plays. The second was the Kolbe moments. At 24 minutes, Kolbe jumps a pass for the intercept, and straight after halftime, he's on the end of slick hands again. Those 2 sequences are classic margins. 1 red, 1 finish, both momentum heavy. The third, the backline rebuild. They rebuild on the fly. With Feinberg Mngomezulu off, Libbok was on at the 18th minute. Esterhuizen was on at the 37th minute with Fassi off, and then Grant Williams to the wing after 46th minute. The net effect, we had Libbok's width, Esterhuizen's power and straightening, and Williams's chase. That combination stressed the All Blacks spacing and made their exits look rushed. What do the numbers say? The top carries were Willemse at 14, Wiese at 14 again, and then Jordie Barrett, 12 carries, Ethan Hooker, 11 carries, Leroy Carter, 10. So that's the picture. South Africa were living on the front foot. Jordie was forced to carry into a set line, and New Zealand wings having to manufacture gains off slow ball. Let's look at what I thought the 5 plays that flipped it for the Springboks. The first, the 24th minute Kolbe intercept. That brought the scores to 7-7. Then at the 42nd minute, you had the try that Kolbe scored, and at the 46th minute, Libbok's penalty. That brought the score to 10-17. That was a huge energy swing. Then at the 61st minute, Nokia's line-out steal, and a phase later, Willemse carves. The 68th minute, we had Kwagga come on, and then at the 73rd minute, Snyman comes in. And from there onwards, you saw bench dominance, which showed on the board as well. The 78th minute, we had Grant Williams creating that phase play, and then at the 79th minute, Esterhuizen just icing it. That's a champion team bending a test to their tempo. Credit where credit's due. My players of the night, man, there were so many, but here are my main ones. Damian Willemse, I thought he was the best on the park. Ball carrying, volume, and incision, plus his composure in a reshaped backfield. That was outstanding. My man, Manie Libbok, I know he gets a lot of crap and a lot of stick from Springbok supporters, but man, was I so happy for him. He really showed lots of maturity. The scoreboard control and the variety that he brought off at 10 was immaculate. Cheslin Kolbe, man, those 2 decisive acts at pivot moments really changed the game for the Springboks. And then Snyman and Kwagga. Well, that's what you want from your 19 and 20. They changed the game, not just the personnel. The All Blacks have a lot of fixing to do. The first is they need to work on their exits. Get a second forward in the drop back. Choose distance first when the chase is hot. They also need to think about the 9-lead cadence. With the starter off, when Noah Hotham went off, they really need to pre-assign who takes tempo. Is it the 10 or the 15? And then think about the 3-phase go-to menu. The middle third defense, I thought they really need to compress a notch when Esterhazen is on. You got to trust your edge cover to win the long pass. And then the bench plan. You got to define how 19 to 23 lift the carry speed and ruck tempo, not just coverage. And we really didn't see the bench coming in and creating any sort of impact for the New Zealanders. Now, what does this mean? So the series is split 1-1 after Eden Park last week and Wellington tonight. South Africa lifted the Freedom Cup last year. With a split this year, conventionally, the holders retain the cup. For the TRC, with Argentina edging Australia in Sydney, the Rugby Championship run home gets properly interesting now. The next stop is the bloody slow build-up. But it's anyone's tournament right now. Everyone's won 2, lost 2, which is insane. And right now, we're going into the last 2 rounds of the Rugby Championship with anyone being able to win the tournament, which is going to be really, really exciting. But honestly, this is how good is the Rugby Championship this year? How good is Southern Hemisphere Rugby been this year? It's insane. If you're a Box supporter, congratulations. You deserve to, really drink a cocktail, enjoy the night. Man, you guys deserve it. This was an absolute shellacking. This was carnage in Wellington. This was a humiliation, a pillaging, an absolute demolition. It was painful to watch as a All Blacks fan. There's a lot to work on, but chins up. Probably need to stop playing at Wellington. But yeah, we'll need to really dust this off, forget about this completely, and just think about the last 2 weeks of the last 2 rounds coming up, and then just focus on those 2 games and try to ice the Rugby Championship, hopefully. But it's definitely kept the tournament really interesting right up until the last week, I'd suppose. And yeah, like I said, how good is rugby been this year? We saw an incredible Super Rugby tournament. Now to top it off, July's been pretty interesting, and now, man, the Rugby Championship is just, everything we'd hope for. Of course, add to the Lions tour, man, we've been treated to some incredible rugby this year. And it's not even over. We've got the November Autumn Series as well. So, man, this has been... If you're a rugby fan, forget about being a fan of a particular team, but if you're just a pure rugby fan, this stuff is just incredible, I had to set aside my disappointment, obviously, at this loss. But purely looking at it from a rugby fan's perspective, this has been incredible. Share your thoughts. Happy to hear what you think about what just happened. What are the fixes they need to do come next 2 rounds for the All Blacks and for the Springboks? Man, is this the team to go to 2027? Let's forget about some of the big names that we set aside. Is this the team that's going to win the World Cup and complete that three-peat that no one else has accomplished? Share your thoughts. Like and subscribe. Let's chat again soon.